Good Monday morning. We're live at the foot of Capitol Hill for a historic day ahead here in Washington, D.C.
Donald Trump returns to the White House in a matter of hours. It's January 20th. This is Today. Inauguration Day. Donald Trump set to take the oath of office for the second time, one of our nation's most revered traditions. This year, forced indoors for the first time in 4 decades, with bitter cold descending on the Capitol. Security remaining tight as thousands gather to witness history indoors. Just ahead, what to expect in the first hours of the Trump administration.
We're going to give them the best first day, the biggest first week, and the most extraordinary first 100 days of any presidency in American history.
The flurry of executive orders on everything from immigration to climate to TikTok. The new president plans to sign today. We're live as it all unfolds, ushering in a new chapter in our nation's history. Today, Monday, January 20th, 2025.
From NBC News, this is a special edition of Today, the inauguration of Donald J. Trump, with Savannah Guthrie and Craig Melvin, live from Washington, D.C.
And hi, everybody. Good morning. What a pretty shot. This is a special edition of Today. We are live in the nation's capital. In just a few hours, Donald Trump will be sworn in for the second time. And Craig, in the spirit of unity, I didn't even bring up the Eagles versus Commanders. The rivalry that is about to unfold between us.
It's going to be a long week.
It's going to be a long week, but we have a lot to cover here in Washington. On the first day of President-elect Trump's term, there are already several breaking stories that we're watching, in addition to events that will unfold later this morning.
Including that ceasefire now in effect in the Gaza Strip. 3 Israeli hostages have been reunited with their families. Hundreds of aid trucks now being let into Gaza. Meanwhile, President-elect Trump expected to sign more than 50 executive orders today related to immigration and reducing the federal workforce, among other things. Trump already taking credit for TikTok being back online this morning after temporarily going dark. The app praising President-elect Trump, who vowed to delay the ban.
All right, but perhaps the biggest factor affecting today's inauguration events, the weather. Take a look at that. D.C. hit with several inches of snow. This is all part of a major storm that dropped up to a foot in some areas in this region. Nearly 200 million people this morning are under cold weather alerts that will last days. This deep freeze forcing inauguration events, including the swearing in and even the traditional parade. It's all going indoors and will be held at Capital One Arena in downtown Washington later today. We've got everything covered, including a live report from the Middle East and a conversation with Donald Trump's chief spokesman, Jason Miller. But let's start with the storm and the cold affecting so many as you wake up this morning. NBC's Emily Ikeda in snow-covered Pennsylvania this morning. Hi, Em. Good morning.
Guys, good morning to you. Well, parts of the region saw snowfall at more than an inch an hour, which is why you will see these towering piles of snow plowed off of the roadways. What's left on the ground this morning now turning to ice. The temperature is 14 degrees here, but it feels a whole lot worse. And Sunday's wintry mess is just the beginning of an intense week of weather for the majority of the country.
This morning, tens of millions waking up to a bitter blast of cold from the deep south to the Midwest, where it could feel like negative 55 degrees. And in the Northeast,
I love days like this where you're driving around and everything's covered in snow.
Cities digging out from a wintry mix. Today's inauguration moved indoors and a snow emergency declared in Philadelphia.
There goes Berkeley into the clear through the snow all the way home.
Where Eagles players made snow angels on the field before defeating the Los Angeles Rams. On the roads, drivers facing treacherous and nearly whiteout conditions, and more danger further south in Tennessee. Officials say slick roadways sent multiple vehicles spinning out of control.
We are about to experience a very serious and dangerous weather episode.
All of Houston's major airports will be closed Tuesday, along with schools. And governors in Mississippi and Louisiana have declared states of emergency, with a week of serious winter weather setting in.
And more than 30% of flights were delayed in D.C., New York City, and here in Philadelphia yesterday. And while we are seeing some relief from the actual precipitation from the snow, those frigid temperatures continue to drop. It feels like single digits right now, carrying the potential of freezing pipes, frostbite, and more travel delays. Savannah?
Yeah, it looks cold, too. Emily, thank you very much.
All right, our buddy Mr. Roker made the trip to Washington here with us as well. Al, good morning to you. How cold is it?
Oh, it's pretty chilly, Craig. A beautiful morning debuting out here on the Capitol grounds. Gorgeous, but right now 20 degrees here. Let's show you who else is suffering all this cold. 214 million of us under cold advisories, watches, and warnings for the western two-thirds of the country all the way to the east. We're looking at wind chills 12 in Boston, -5 in Denver, 36 in New Orleans, feels like 33 in Houston. For tomorrow, those temperatures continue bitterly cold from Portland down to Baton Rouge with a wind chill of 22, Pueblo, Colorado, 33. And then we've got temperatures slowly starting to warm up as we get toward the end of the week. The other big story, as Emily kind of alluded to, we've got 55 million people under winter weather alerts from Corpus Christi to the southeast and into the northeast as well. As this system gets itself together, Houston, 2 to 4 inches. Beaumont, Texas, 4 to 6. New Orleans could see 2 to 3 inches of snow, and that light snow extends all the way out into the southeast. Plus, we're going to be looking at icing conditions as well. Big problems for the airport stretching from Kinston, Myrtle Beach, all the way down into northern Florida and parts of New Orleans. So it is going to be a nightmare over the next 48 hours, guys, weather-wise, from the south all the way into the northern plains.
All right, Al, we'll come back to you in just a few minutes. Thanks, buddy.
And as mentioned, the weather has changed plans drastically here in Washington with the inaugural events moving indoors because of this extreme cold. And as we count down the hours, we want to set the stage for you what's going to happen today and later this afternoon. The president-elect and his family this morning will leave Blair House, where they spent the night, shortly after 8 o'clock this morning. That's right across from the White House. They will begin their day attending a worship service at St. John's Church, a short walk away. This is an Inauguration Day tradition. Dates back to FDR in 1933.
And then from there, Mr. Trump and his wife Melania will head to the White House, meeting President Biden and First Lady Dr. Joe Biden for tea. Then they'll make the short 2-mile procession to the U.S. Capitol.
And that, of course, is where the swearing-in ceremony will take place, indoors now, and then followed by the inaugural address. That is where we began our coverage this morning with NBC senior national correspondent Tom Yamas. He's inside Emancipation Hall, the overflow room this morning. Hi, Tom. Good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning to you. Yeah, just behind us here, Donald Trump will take the oath for a second time and become the 47th president of the United States. As you mentioned, that inauguration moving indoors here to the Capitol. He'll do it right in front of the Statue of Freedom you see behind me. That's a model replica of the one that sits atop the Capitol. And we've now just received some excerpts from the president's speech, the president-elect's speech. He will say he's going to begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense.
This morning, President-elect Donald Trump set to be sworn into office for the second time. With the frigid weather, Trump calling an audible, moving the ceremony inside the Capitol Rotunda. The last time this happened, Ronald Reagan's second inauguration 40 years ago. Last night, the incoming president rallying supporters at Capital One Arena in downtown D.C.
The American people have given us their trust, and in return, we're going to give them the best first day, the biggest first week, and the most extraordinary first 100 days of any presidency in American history.
Previewing his return to the Oval Office.
You're going to see executive orders that are going to make you extremely happy.
Inviting on stage Elon Musk.
We're going to do great things here. Thank you.
Trump also dancing with the village people. But beyond the celebrating, the incoming president promises to get to work. Mr. Trump planning to sign more than 50 executive orders today, some right in front of a crowd of supporters at the Capital One Arena. Those orders including what Trump calls, quote, unleashing American energy and cracking down on illegal immigration, with the incoming president even considering declaring a national emergency on the U.S. border.
By the time the sun sets tomorrow evening, the invasion of our borders will have come to a halt.
And last night at the rally, Trump appearing to reference planned major immigration raids.
And very soon we'll begin the largest deportation operation in American history, larger, even larger than President Dwight Eisenhower, who has the record.
Meanwhile,
there's so much we can do. We've got to stay involved.
Back in Washington, Trump supporters traveling from all over the country to be here to celebrate. With outdoor events canceled, many coming to D.C. just to watch it on screen.
We're a little bummed about that, but you know what? We're just glad that we're going to have a good 4 years.
So at a usual inauguration, you probably get about 250,000 people just behind us here in Emancipation Hall. We counted about 1,300 seats, a little over 1,300 seats. So it's unclear exactly who's going to get a ticket. We do expect some of the tech titans to be here, including Elon Musk, who is so close to the president-elect, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg. But there will also be some notables not here, including former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, and former First Lady, Michelle Obama. Savannah, back to you.
All right, Tom, it's setting us up for us. Thank you very much. And joining us now, Kristen Welker, moderator of Meet the Press, who, of course, spoke to the incoming president on Saturday. Hallie Jackson, our senior Washington correspondent. So good morning. Nice to have you along with us for a historic day.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for hosting. Let's start with you, Kristen. We just got a preview of what we can expect to hear from President Trump's speech. Day one, though, in terms of priorities, what do we expect to see from the incoming president?
President-elect Trump, when I spoke to him this weekend, said he is planning to sign a record number of executive actions. He said the focus of them will be the border. That's, of course, been his big priority on the campaign trail. So expect him to sign an emergency at the U.S.-Mexico border. That is going to be one. How will it actually be implemented? That's one of the things we'll be looking for. Will we start to see those deportation raids? We'll be watching for that this week. He's also, he told me in my interview with him in December, going to pardon some of those who were convicted of crimes on January 6th. And then he's going to roll back a lot of the Biden-era regulations. So it's going to be a very busy day. What he says in his speech will be significant. The theme of his speech, we are told, restoring confidence. So we'll have to see how it's received and how uplifting it is.
Taking a step back, Hallie, I mean, this is a moment Republicans now have full control of the White House, both branches of Congress. The conservatives have an ideological majority in the Supreme Court. I mean, they got the keys to the car.
And they want to get a lot done. And that's why you're seeing the action beginning this week with this real political show of force, it feels like, from President-elect Trump. Kristen talked about the executive actions he's expected to take. If he signs more than 22 things, he'll do more than President Biden did his first week. He will set the record for any president in modern American history, considering he only did one first time around. Remember, this is a president-elect who won those key battleground states that we talked about on election night, won the popular vote by about 1.5%, has control of both the House and the Senate. He's going to have to work now with Congress to get his big legislative priorities done. But interestingly, even before he gets sworn in, let's talk about that clock ticking 2 years from now, because up come the midterm election. So if they want to get things done, they know that they have 2 years to do it, and there's a lot on his plate.
All right, Kristen and Hallie, we'll be chatting a lot as we go along this morning. Nice to have you along with us.
Meanwhile, a major story unfolding overnight in the Middle East. 3 Israeli hostages reunited with their families after 15 months. They are the first group of hostages to be released as part of the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. And our chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel, is live for us in Jerusalem with more. Richard, good morning to you.
Good morning, Craig. It is still early days, but at least for now, this ceasefire is holding. And those 3 hostages that were released are receiving medical attention, surrounded by friends and family.
These are the moments 3 Israeli hostages finally met their families. When 15 months of pent-up fear, heartache, hope, and uncertainty turned to joy. Romi Gonen was shot and kidnapped at the Nova Music Festival. Her mother, Mirav, was on the telephone with her and thought she may have been listening to her daughter dying. Daron Steinbrecher, a veterinary nurse, was ripped from her home by Hamas gunmen in Kfar Aza, a kibbutz near Gaza. Emily Damari, kidnapped from the same kibbutz, posting this morning, "I have returned to my beloved life." The hostage handover took place in Gaza City. Hundreds of Hamas militants gathered in the streets. For them, this was also a show of strength. The Hamas and Red Cross vehicles parked just yards apart. Hamas filmed it as well. And in a bizarre gesture, Hamas fighters gave the hostages goodie bags containing a map of Gaza, a release certificate, and photos of their captivity, and forced the women to pose with them for their cameras before being released. After the transfer, the Red Cross drove the women out of Gaza, handed them to Israeli security forces and their waiting families. In Tel Aviv, thousands gathered to watch it unfold live on a big screen.
And word has just come that they are now safely inside Israel. Romy, Daron, and Emily, everyone here knows them by their first name.
Yonatan Ben David is a family friend of American hostage Idan Alexander, echoing the message from many.
I do hope this does open up the opportunities for all of the hostages to come home and end the war.
Israeli strikes have stopped, but much of Gaza will need to be rebuilt. And after 15 months of living in tents under fire, nearly 47,000 killed, according to local officials, Gazans have begun to head back to their homes to see if anything remains.
Hamas is to release at least 3 hostages per week, starting with women and children. The remaining American hostages are all men, so it could be several weeks before any of them are set free.
Our chief foreign correspondent Richard Ingleforth there in Jerusalem. Richard, thank you.
And now to the future of the popular app TikTok. The social media platform has been the subject of national security concerns and briefly went dark this weekend ahead of an expected ban. But now the incoming Trump administration is giving the app a lifeline. NBC's Savannah Sellers has more. Hi, Savannah. Good morning.
Hey there. Good morning. So TikTok back up, like you said, after a roller coaster of a weekend. In a high drama move, TikTok went completely dark for U.S. users, with the app saying they didn't receive enough assurances from the Biden administration. Well, the White House called that move a stunt. The Trump team then said they started to reach out to tech companies that would have been impacted by steep fines with this law, ensuring them they would not be penalized. After just about 12 hours and with a notification explicitly crediting President Trump, the app came back online for its 170 million American users. And now, as for what's to come next here, we could be seeing an executive order as soon as this afternoon from Trump. He's signaled he plans to give TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance an extension to work out some type of sale before any penalties are enforced. His ideal outcome, he said, it would be a joint venture with an American owner taking a 50% stake. But that leaves open questions about those original national security concerns you referenced, Savannah. How would those data security and content manipulation concerns be addressed with ByteDance still involved? We'll have to see. Savannah?
All right, devil in the details as usual. Savannah, thank you.
All right, let's turn back to the weather now. Mr. Roker joins us here in the studio with the rest of the forecasts on Inauguration Day.
That's right, guys. Good morning, and good morning to all of you. So basically, temperatures are going to be in the 20s, single-digit wind chills with those winds gusting up to 30 miles per hour. Interestingly enough, the coldest inaugural ever belonged to Ronald Reagan, 1985, 7 degrees, as we mentioned, held indoors. The warmest ever was Ronald Reagan, 1981, 4 years earlier, 55 degrees, the snowiest ever. Well, that happened in 1909 for William Howard Taft, almost 10 inches of snow, and the rainiest happening during Franklin Delano Roosevelt, 1937. They had almost 2 inches of rain. We're going to get to your local forecast coming up in the next 30 seconds.
Where can you kick off the new year with gig speed and big savings? Only with Xfinity. Get gig internet at home for $25 a month when you add Xfinity Mobile, which connects you to gig speed Wi-Fi on the road. Save more than $650 over AT&T and Verizon. Plus, hurry and get a free 5G phone. So save big and stay connected with gig speed internet and mobile. From home to hotspots, this new year, it's all about savings on gig speeds. Visit Xfinity.com/gig savings today.
Wet weather continues across South Florida off and on all day today. Temperatures don't warm too much. We're going into the upper 60s. Clouds and rain stick around this evening, so we're only going to fall back down into the low 60s. But hey, that's actually normal for this time of year for our morning conditions. It stays rainy, like I mentioned, with a gusty breeze, and changes in our forecast don't really arrive until the end of the week, although we keep rain chances today and the next several days in our forecast.
It's a fun little field trip, isn't it?
It is. And by the way, Craig wearing a new cologne. Savannah didn't notice.
I didn't notice.
Your TV wife didn't notice.
I know.
It's like we've been married for years.
It is.
Yeah.
I also have a little cold.
Okay.
Yes,
all right.
but I'm sure you smell delicious. Does he smell delicious? Yes. Okay. Good. I'll take your word for it. Coming up, from the TikTok ban we just talked about to the border, we're going to break down President-elect Trump's day one plans. Garrett Haake has more on what to expect.
Guys, Donald Trump campaigned on making big changes fast. Coming up, we'll take a look at the actions he plans to take today before he even sets foot in the Oval Office.
We'll also take a look at how this Trump administration could be a little different from the first. We'll talk to someone that's got a bit of a complicated history with the incoming president. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy will join us live. But first, this is Today on NBC.
Hey, South.